Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It's Connor here, and yes, we are back with another Rumour Mill. This is where you get all your Leeds United news, guys. If you want some bonus content, go check out the Patreon account. We now have, I think it's 80 members on there, which is absolutely fantastic. As I say, I want to give you guys some extra content. I don't just want you guys to be sort of members of the channel. I would rather give you a bit of bonus content for your money, really. So there's been 2 videos out there this week, 2 transfer videos. People seem to be enjoying it, which is great. I'm going to try get out sort of 6-7 videos a month if I can. I do have to live as well, but I am putting out bonus content on there, so make sure you go check that out. Link will be in the description below. Okay, today on the Rumour Mill, a lot of the stories that we've spoken about already will correlate with later stories because, they are developing or they're being quashed, rumours are being quashed. But to get onto it, I saw an article actually by Leeds Live. Go check it out. I'll leave that I'll link in the description below. But it was 5 players who can impress this summer. Now, on this article, there was, when I say impress this summer, I mean impress going into the summer and revitalise the career under Jesse Marsch. Now, in this article, there was Tyler Roberts, there was Diego Llorente, there was Dan James. Now, for me, players like this, Charlie Cresswell was in there, which, that's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with Charlie in terms of his loan, in terms of staying at Leeds. But it is interesting for me to see how this will go with Jesse Marsch and how, what we're going to do with our system. Are we going to adapt it for our wide players, which is a definite inherent possibility, in my opinion. But there is also a huge possibility that Leeds don't do that, and we do stick to a narrow, compact formation, and we do, continue doing the things that Jesse Marsch has done previously, and he has this summer to work with the players. But Tad Roberts was in there, as I've said to you guys. I believe Matthias Klick was in there now, and I believe Dan James was in there. Now, for me, you've just got to be ruthless. These players, some of these players are just not good enough, right? Tyler Roberts is not good enough. He's not good enough. I'm not interested in hearing, he might be different in a 4-2-3-1 formation. He might be different in a 4-2-2-2. I'm sorry, this is where we have to be ruthless. If we want to be a club challenging for European football, if we want to be in the top 6, the top 8, if we want to be progressive as a football club, you don't have Tyler Roberts starting for Leeds United. It is not on the agenda at all. Now, similarly, really, for me, with Matthias Klick, now Matthias Klick can be definitely be a bench option. I would personally look at moving Klick on. His value's not going to be that high, but at least the stock is going to be relatively high for him at the minute. He's played a fair few games in the Premier League. That was standing him in good stead for a future move to a German club or a Dutch club, whatever. Dan James is an interesting one. I don't know with Dan James, it's a flip of the coin. We're not going to be able to recoup that money. But I do think if he was converted into an attacking midfielder, that would be really, really good under the Jesse Marsch system. If you got Aronson and him next to each other, that would be great. But I would like to see a natural attacking midfielder, Morgan Gibbs-White, whatever, next to Brendan Aronson. We spoke about a couple of Red Bull targets. That is on my Patreon account, which I think will be perfect for this Leeds system, and it'd be interesting to see if Leeds are going to go in for that. But yeah, I just wanted to flag up on that. I think a lot of these people who were turning around and saying, they might impress, they might do this, they might change under Jesse Marsch. No chance. They ain't going to change under Jesse Marsch. It's going to be exactly the same from what we've seen previously because they don't have the quality. They do not have the technical ability. They do not have that quality to be in the Premier League continuously. Also, back onto rumours, Morgan Gibbs-White, the Athletic's Paul Taylor is reporting this morning that Morgan Gibbs-White is at the very top of Nottingham Forest's list for signings this summer, and apparently it's going to cost around 20 million, but Leeds are also keen. Leeds are also interested in the attacking midfielder. Now, this is going to be one where Leeds are going to have to face competition. There's chat of Southampton, there's chat of Leicester, there's chat of Crystal Palace. Leeds need to get this one done quickly. It's going to be a tough one because the player's going to have so many options that this will not be a deal that gets done straight away. So this is going to be a slow burner for me for Leeds United. So that's going to be one that we're going to have to be in it for the long haul. But Morgan Gibbs-White will be absolutely perfect. An absolute breath of fresh air in that Sheffield United side, and I think he'd be a breath of fresh air in this Leeds United side as well. More chat about Kalvin Phillips this morning. West Ham apparently are looking to revitalise their interest after, in my opinion, it was hoax transfer claims by David Gold and David Sullivan in the January window when they were saying, oh, we're interested in Kalvin Phillips. I think that was a load of rubbish. I think that was just to ignite the paper talk. So, yeah, Kalvin Phillips apparently is of interest to West Ham United for 50 million. I can't see that. But I'm going to get on to some Kalvin chat in just a little bit. In fact, we'll get onto it now. I think for 50, 60 million for Kalvin Phillips, this is not going to be popular, but I would accept that. 100%. And that's because I think in a Jesse Marsch system, and I said this, and I actually got clipped up by a couple of people, and they sent me it, and interestingly, they've not sort of added to that. I'm not petty enough to go and find the clips that people sent of me saying this, but I said about 6 weeks ago when Jesse Marsch first came, Kalvin Phillips will never, ever, ever be the same player again. Unless he's with Marcelo Bielsa. So now Marcelo Bielsa has moved on. I don't believe, because of how important, how pivotal, how independent he was in that Leeds United setup, I don't think you will see a Kalvin Phillips like that again. I could be wrong, but I think Marcelo Bielsa's system got the very best out of that man. Now, you're asking me, would I take 50, 60 million for Kalvin Phillips? I'm 100% taking 50, 60 million for Kalvin Phillips. He's nowhere near, in my opinion, worth 70 million or 80 million. He's not. You look at his age, you look at his injury record. There's no chance he's worth 70 or 80 million. I'm not even entertaining that. Especially when we're looking at Raphinha, who is looking at about 60, 70 million. He's worth a lot more than Kalvin Phillips, in my opinion, when you look at the market value. I do like Kalvin. Really, really like Kalvin. Really rate Kalvin. But I think there are a lot of Kalvins out there that could fit into this Jesse Marsch system. As I say, I did a Red Bull video yesterday. There is maybe 2 Red Bull players there who could fit this system as well as Kalvin fits this system. So for me, if there is a team offering that sort of money, 50, 60 million, I'd preferential. I would rather it not be in the Premier League. But it is what it is. If it isn't in there, if it isn't in the, in the European leagues, I'd like it to be in the upper echelon of the Premier League. I'm still not 100% sure where it fits in that Man City side. I think Man City's global scouting network would be able to find a young 21, 22-year-old who has very, very similar attributes to Kalvin Phillips, who's probably more mobile than Kalvin Phillips in that CDM role. There's been a lot of talk about Man City looking at Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham is a more mobile central defensive midfielder than Kalvin Phillips. He gets more goals, he gets more assists than Kalvin Phillips. This is hard for people to hear, but it's facts. He has a better injury record than Kalvin Phillips. So these are all things that clubs will be looking at. So for me, if you're getting a club who is putting up 50, 60 million, what do you do really? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And this links on to my next point. An article this morning discussing Raphinha with, I believe it was Phil Hay and Dermot Corrigan, discussing Raphinha's future. Now, apparently there's been absolutely no contact by Barcelona to Leeds United as of yet, and Leeds would be looking, and it looks like the valuations actually increased from what Leeds were looking at prior, according to reports, to 60/70 million. That's all they would entertain. That's pounds for Raphinha. So the problem with Barcelona at the minute is they're actually struggling to register players. They signed Frank Kessie not long ago from AC Milan, central midfielder. They can't register him. So unless there is some business done, unless maybe a Frankie de Jong goes to Manchester United, unless they free up the wage structure with Ousmane Dembele, and let's not forget, guys, the transfer window isn't even open yet. They're not going to be able to afford Raphinha. I mean, they buy Raphinha, they're not going to be able to register him. So that's going to be interesting, fascinating to see. My point is, Andrea Radrizzani's always said to Leeds fans that he focuses on, originally it was the Wolves network, and then it turned into Leicester, and he sort of maintained that line of thought with Leicester. Leicester sold Kante, they sold Mahrez to essentially drum up the funds. And they've done well, seeing as though, they're a championship club. They've obviously won the league, which is incredible. And then they've managed to really sustain themselves as a top 10 club, really. And they've had Europe as well, of course. So it's worked for Leicester, and I understand that model. They're copying that model. Leeds need money for me this summer. They need money for me this summer. So Allegedly, you've got Kalvin Phillips saying that he wants to stay at Leeds. And you've got Raphinha, who hasn't asked to leave Leeds, according to reports. He's not becoming a problem, according to reports. And Barcelona are struggling to stump up the fee for him. Bayern Munich can't afford 60, 70 million this summer. It looks like their eggs are all in one basket as well with Sadio Mane. PSG, apparently, not in the ring for him. Real Madrid, I've always said just look out for Real Madrid as an external. Because that almost would be a power play as well, getting Raphinha ahead of Barcelona. Now, if that doesn't happen, this is going to be a long summer for Leeds United, and it'd be great, obviously, if we kept hold of them both, but for the financial model, Leeds also need to move one of them on, in my opinion, because we need value. We need value from incomings. Leeds haven't got value from any incomings in the entire Bielsa era. Not any decent value. We've pretty much always lost money on players. So to sustain that model economically, Leeds need to bring players in to be able to weigh up that equilibrium of buying players. Because it's not just an endless flow of cash, everybody. And when the accounts are going to be released in 12 months' time, unfortunately, it's not going to be a thing where Leeds United can just bring in 7 players and are just handed loads of money and we keep hold of Raphinha and Kalvin Phillips and Elan Meslier and all of our assets, Patrick Bamford. There has to be some movement. There has to be some movement to keep Leeds in that green. And I understand that clubs do go in the red. You know, clubs that are in the green, it's very rare. But it's nice being in the green, isn't it? And when you've got assets on your side which you can sell on, and you can recoup that money, I think that's the way to go. So for me, my question is to you guys, if you were to sell on one of them, because Deco for Raphinha now will be touting him out to other clubs. There will be other clubs interested in Raphinha. There will be. But the valuation might be a bit too much for them. But Leeds are not moving on that valuation. So then it comes to player happiness. If he's not upset as of yet, that's great for us. Now for me, Kalvin goes ahead of Raphinha if you are to sell one of the two. Now, why? Why, Connor? Why would you say that? He's a Leeds hero. He's a Leeds lad. Raphinha's only been here 2 years. Find me goal replacement, assist replacement, chance creation replacement, which I believe from Raphinha was in about the 100 sphere. Hundreds of chances he has created in 2 years. That doesn't mean Leeds have finished the chances off, but chances created for individuals, he's in the hundreds for Leeds United. It is way more difficult to replace that than it is to replace a Kalvin Phillips in a Jesse Marsch system. Way more difficult. And it doesn't matter who we bring in this summer. It could be 6 or 7 players. It could be another striker. Leeds are going to struggle straight off the bat to replace Raphinha's output because it's so critical. And mark my words, remember me saying this, Leeds are going to struggle to really replicate his output. Because as I've just said, it's not only goals, it's not only assists, it's finding space, it's chance creation, which doesn't always mean assists. It's making space for other players to run into. It's helping defensively. It's been that fantastic player at sprinting, recording so many sprints per 90. Fouls won in the opposition third. This guy is an elite player, and we knew he was going to move on. But I always said the biggest challenge for Leeds is replacing him because his output's so good. So Leeds, for me, I don't know the books inside out, but for me, Leeds have got to replace one of them. And I think it's going to be a long summer, everybody. I thought this would be done pretty quickly, but I'm just hoping it doesn't impact what we can put into future players. And there's chat as well about Lewis O'Brien. Apparently West Bromwich Albion are interested in Lewis O'Brien. So Leeds need to start making moves for that, but that won't be easy as well. Apparently 5 Premier League clubs looking at Lewis O'Brien. Let me know what you think, everybody. What do you think to what I've said this morning? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please don't get abusive in the comment section below. It's just an opinion. It's subjective as football, isn't it? Thank you so much. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.